Hey everybody, this is RRPG here. It's March 9th, 2018, and welcome to RRPG Side Quest. For today's news story, we're going to be tracing into the realm of Final Fantasy XV. Now, as you all know, Final Fantasy XV Royal Edition came out on both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, as well as Final Fantasy XV Windows Edition came out on PC through Steam, the Windows 10 Store, and EA Origin. So if you have one of those three distribution sites to pick up the game on PC, then there you go. Personally, I picked up my copy on Steam. I don't have the Royal Edition because I still have the regular edition. But I'm kind of miffed that in order to get access to the content that's available in Royal Edition, you have to pay an extra $15 online, which that should have been free if we get the Royal Edition. You know, if you get the Royal Edition, then you get that content for free. But if you have the original, then you have to pay an extra 15 bucks. And that really, like I said, just brings my piss to a boil. But I'm not gonna, delve too deeply on that, but I want to talk about today's news story. Now, in today's news story, this is another news sample that I got from Silicon Era, and they actually talked about how much faster it is for, Square Enix at least, to develop HD games thanks to Final Fantasy XV. And let me go ahead and read off the article and then give you my 2 cents on what I think about that. So anyway, Final Fantasy XV's key developers and director Hajime Tabata, game designer Takefumi Terada, and episode Ignis director Yoichi Kuroda were featured in this week's issue of Famitsu magazine to talk about everything up until now for Final Fantasy XV and what's to come, thanks to Hachima. I guess this is the person who managed to translate the Famitsu article from this interview. But anyway, here are the highlights from the interview of what they go on about. In terms of development deadlines for Final Fantasy XV, Square Enix had over 20 last year. 20 development deadlines for a game that's over a year old. And, on top of releasing the episodic content for Prompto, Gladio, and Ignis all last year. So, and as well as all the updates and whatever available content that came for it, that's very impressive. Just to get all of them done within that same year. Anyway, next point. At least once a month, Square Enix worked on releasing something of consistent quality and no bugs. Thanks to this, Square Enix feels that it gained the technique to develop HD games at an incredibly high speed, and that its staff improved to become tougher and speedier. Next point. Making episode Ignis multi-ending was planned from the start. Getting players to fight for fate was something Square Enix wanted to do more than anything. They were overall happy to see reactions from fans, whether they were for it or against it. Next point, the Insomnia map that is being added in Final Fantasy XV Royal Edition is roughly the size of a hub area. Next point, Square Enix reiterated that the first new DLC we'll see this year is Episode Arden, and that at first they wanted to release 3 episodes in 2018, but plans have changed because they recently said that they're now pushing for, this more content to release until 2019. So 2019 is when we will officially see the end of content being made for Final Fantasy XV. After thinking about what kind of content they'll be finishing with, it was decided to make it 4 episodes. Next point, for those of you wondering just what kind of content Square Enix will offer with the new episodes, they'll share everything about all at once later. And finally, this new content won't be anything to keep things going, but rather it will be offered as something with value and something meaningful to the player's experience. Let me go ahead and talk about my thoughts on Final Fantasy XV. Now, Final Fantasy XV is a very, very interesting beast. It's gone through... we've seen the game for what it is, how it started out as Final Fantasy Versus 13, how it was being worked on for 5 years, and then midway through development, they had a change in staff, and then for another 5 years, that's when we finally seen Final Fantasy XV for what it was, and then it finally got released in the end of 2016, just right after Thanksgiving. And then a slew and a bevy of content has released for the game, whether it be updates and through downloadable content and all that stuff. They decided to make this game go under the guise as a games as a service, and that's something that either people have been very highly appreciative towards, or most others they've been highly against, because from what they got of the original game, they felt that it was an incomplete package. And I can agree with what they were saying, but for what I played as it is, I really thought it was a very enjoyable experience, even before all the updates took effect. But it's very interesting to see how Square Enix is, trying to come up with brand new content for the game. Yet, I feel, and most others feel, that ought to just move on to something else, you know, like either start on concept stages for Final Fantasy 16, or have some of its staff from the Square Enix's Business Division 2 go over to the first Product Development Division, or Business Division 1, where Yoshinori Kitase and his team are at, and help them work on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And, you know, I can personally agree to that, because when it comes to Business Division 1, it seems like they're not really getting that far along with the Final Fantasy VII Remake, despite what some developers have said about the development of the remake, how it's going along and all that. So I would say that if what Square Enix has done for the development of Final Fantasy 15 in terms of the new content and getting all the deadlines met and satisfied with what they put out and what is the reaction was to, or reactions were to people who really enjoyed it or were against it, then I'd say they need to apply that for not only for their team, but for others as well. Especially for the team who was working on the Final Fantasy VII Remake, because if they want to get that game out before 2020, they really need to, you know, put the pedal to the metal and get that first part out with what Square Enix wants to put out for, you know, part 1. So hopefully they can do that, and we won't even have to suffer another 2 years before that game releases. But in terms of Final Fantasy 15, I am definitely looking forward to the next 4 episodes of what they have planned, especially with episode Arden, but I really don't know what the other 3 episodes are going to be about. I heard one that they might focus one on Luna Freya. I know some people want one to focus on Aranea, one to focus on Gladio's sister Iris, and I think Corleonis, but then again, you actually see Corleonis through both episode Gladio as well as Final Fantasy 15 Comrades, the multiplayer expansion. So I'd say you actually got a good glimpse of his character development, so we really don't need more of him. So if I had to surmise of who those last 3 are after episode Arden, then I think those 3 females are probably going to be who are going to be showcased. So yeah, if they can get them done much faster and still, you know, get stuff done at a quick pace to where they actually get the results that are satisfactory, then hey, more power to them. But if you ask me personally, I think it's time for Final Fantasy 15 to rest, as well as for Square Enix to finally move on to the next game, because we don't even know what's next for Final Fantasy. I mean, or what Final Fantasy 16 is going to look like, and that's still a long ways off before we actually hear anything. But you know, we'll just have to see what 2018 holds for us in terms of Final Fantasy 15 content. But anyway, guys, that's all with my 2 cents in this episode of Double RPG Side Quest. If you like what you see, then be sure to rate this video, as well as leaving your feedback down in the comments. Also, be sure to leave your questions in the comments, as I will answer whoever's question I pick in the next episode that is in relation to the topic of this video. And, you know, I'll give you a shout out, and I will put your channel in the description, so that way, you know, you get viewed, you know, you get credited for the news story that I'm talking about. So yeah, be on the lookout for that, and I will answer those. But just like I said in the previous video, that you know, since the first 3 news story segments have been done within the same day, those 3 questions are going to be answered on the next episode, which will be on a Monday. But hopefully I do get the questions in, so that way I get everybody featured. But at least let's get everybody, you know, get different people to answer questions. I don't want to answer the questions from the same people, because everybody's got to participate, right? Right. Anyway, guys, get back in what I was saying. If you like what you see, then be sure to hit that subscribe button underneath this video, because more support from you guys will mean that more content is coming from me in the future that you guys are not going to find anywhere else. So until next time, this is Double RPG signing off by saying Godspeed and game on, gamers. Peace out. Had a cut off there.